Cheers, guys. Epyx911, welcome to the Friday, June 23rd, 2017 edition of VR News. While it is absolutely a gaming Friday, and there's going to be plenty of gaming on my end of the equation, sadly, my buddy Exidy is MIA. Haven't heard from him for a couple of days now. Hopefully he's okay and nothing untoward's happened to the guy, and that I find out later. But for now, let's jump into the news and start with an event. It's an annual event, and it's called the CEO Sleepover. And generally what happens is you've got various cities will host their own local, but it'll be part of a global initiative, right? They'll hold their own event. In Sydney, Australia, there was one such event, and 8 CEOs from the Sydney area were asked to put on HMDs so that they could see homelessness for themselves. And I'm not sure where the original footage was filmed, whether it was New York or wherever. The comments against this flying in were absolutely unreal. Mostly on Twitter, and I know it's tough. It's hard. You're sitting there somewhere, you got to get up, find a mobile phone, or hunt down a keyboard and type up some response. That's a tough thing for these people to do, but they did, in droves, criticizing them for wearing expensive HMDs, cracks about virtual homelessness, that they could have just made a couple of left turns and witnessed it in actual reality. And I gotta admit, some of them were kind of funny, but they completely missed the point and obviously knee-jerked to a headline that they saw without reading into the frickin' event. So first of all, they're wearing Gear VRs. And one thing we know about Gear VR phones, they can be had pretty cheap, free usually as part of a phone promo, right? Samsung phone, or around the $100 US mark. We're not talking about one of the more expensive pieces of kit. So you know what? Let's just be super conservative and say they were wearing a combined total of about $2,500 worth of gear. Just their location raised $17,000 US for homelessness. Globally, the organization raised $5 million. So I get that. And had the subject matter been anything else, wars, migrants traversing, horrible waters and succumbing to all kinds of things, absolutely wouldn't have probably been one wisecrack. Well, this is the internet. There would have been one wisecrack, maybe a few, but nowhere near this firestorm. So you would think people would spend a little bit more time, right? Before, like I said, they make the arduous journey to their virtual keyboard or physical keyboard and start, rat-a-tat-tatting. But there you have it, the CEO Sleepout. Now, they're not done in Australia. Apparently, Adelaide still in the books, and a couple of the other cities in Australia and worldwide. I know there were cities here in Canada that did the event. So hopefully, they will continue to do what they're doing, and that is raise money for charity. All right, next up, IBM Watson. This was first reported about 3-4 months ago, and it was pre-Star Trek Bridge Crew launch, where we were told that eventually IBM's Watson program would have support, and that we'd see a beta version sometime in the summer for Star Trek Bridge Crew. Because right now, if you play solo, you don't have the luxury of voice commands. Sure, you could probably set up voice attack and come up with some clever stuff. It wouldn't be that easy or straightforward, but probably doable. Instead, they have to rely on static menu options to, facilitate commands to the other stations. Well, it's summertime. I guess officially it has been for a couple of days now, and IBM have lived up to their portion of the deal. You can get the Watson software from GitHub. It's a free download. Add it and play Star Trek Bridge Crew with voice commands. Now, This always bears mentioning because one thing with our language of English is that accents absolutely can and do vary. And I always get a chuckle because there's a couple of viewers to the channel that I speak with regularly in Scotland. One of whom, I mentioned Nature Channel for his film footage for different pieces of Scottish nature. Anyways, a second individual, apparently, and this is according to him and those who've spoken to him, I actually haven't had him on a Discord or anything, saying that his accent is so brutal that even other Scottish people require subtitles to talk to the guy. So yeah, certain accents are absolutely going to throw this type of thing off. Your classic, flat North American, so northern US, and I know that can vary too. I'm just saying for the most part, your cosmopolitan LA, standard New York, that more or less accent where people sound like me is the best accent to have for voice attack and a bunch of these. Watson takes that a step further. So if you've spent, your time growing up on a commune in the outback in Australia, or some mountain on the South Island in New Zealand, or hell, you're from Newfoundland, right? The program should be able to understand you. So, because I know before, even with voice attack, I'd recommend that to people and they'd say, it's not working with my Australian, my Sydney accent, whatever. And absolutely that can happen. Watson, however, lot stronger than what you get in voice attack for language recognition. And so, like I said, that is available via GitHub right now, if that's a game that you're into. All right. Was going to do a story on ROM extract and the aim controller. And then it kind of morphed into a story about where the hell the aim controller actually is. I have yet to see one of these in the wild. Now, my search started off pretty casual. I wanted one for the channel, obviously, record some Farpoint footage using the aim controller. Best Buy, nope. Walmart, nope. Staples, nope. Proprietary video game stores, nope. In fact, the only store that remembers actually getting any stock, and it was very limited, was Best Buy. So I thought, okay, casual, as I walk into places, I'll ask. So that got worse and worse. Then I'm thinking, wow, maybe it was that limited retail level, and I can still find one online. Yeah, holy hell no. And you think we would have learned as an industry, and Nintendo loves to do this, right? The mini NES collector edition, way, way too short in supply compared to the demand, right? Relative to the demand, it was just ridiculous. And nobody should have been in the dark about how popular this aim controller was going to be. But look at these prices, guys. And I should have a screenshot up right now. This is Amazon Canada, US, not much better. And you can see the ludicrous ranges from $279 to $400 US for the aim controller. Standalone. The one with the Farpoint game, that bundle, commanding sometimes even higher. I have yet to find a reasonable price, right? So you've got the scalping phenomena here when really this should have been addressed supply chain wise. It's just another one of those freaking things that makes you scratch your head, right? You want this to be popular, make the stuff available. I would have bought it. Not 6 times over, but on one of those visits to a retail store, I would have purchased an aim controller. Curious, any of you out there, same, looking for the aim controller, like more casual? If you come across it, you'll buy it. If not, no sweat. Love to hear your thoughts. And if you were able to get one, or similar to me, no dice. All right, next up, this from Upload VR, the VR 180 camera. And this thing's from Google. And what's interesting here is Google is one of the proponents driving 360-degree video editing, filming, streaming. And yet this camera halves that. It basically says, you know what? We're going to go 180 degrees, but We're going to give you much better resolution, fidelity, the whole 9 yards, but it's 180. And when you look at the footage, it actually looks really good. I think there was a Coachella video, should be at the link in the description below, and you can see the quality looks really freaking good. It's just not 360. So I'm curious if there's a market for this. Eventually, Lenovo, LG are also going to be making these cameras, the VR 180. So we'll see, maybe follow up with it in a few months and see what the demand is like for that camera. All right, next story. Amazing examples being shown in public about or regarding the Vive Trackers. And this Upload VR article, some really cool examples here. I urge you guys to check it out. Even if you're not a developer or going to get a Vive tracker, it's just showing you some of the creative things, some not so creative, and you kind of wonder what was the point, but some neat ideas here, especially the YouTube channel. There's a fella here, I've got his channel linked as well. Tubo1 is his YouTube channel, but like I said, in the link below. But some of the ideas, for example, I thought this one was really cool. The game Space Pirate Trainer. And what the fella in this video did was take a tracker, mount it to a drone, and using the flight controls of the drone to basically give chase and bring the fight to, you know, the Galaga style alien flyers that attack you. I just thought that was really freaking cool. The second is a tracker, an example of a tracker on a ceiling fan. And of course, variable speed, you can increase the difficulty. Yeah, this is kind of probably the category of why bother, but still neat, just to show you the differences in what this can be used for. And in that game, I think it was archery. Yeah, you're trying to pop manned or personed hot air balloons and knock them from the sky. And then the third one, we've talked about this before, not stepping on your, domesticated dogs or cats. And it's basically a way to mount a tracker to your cat. Now, no way in hell my cat Cairo would let you mount anything on him, unless it was a treat. That would probably fly. Nothing short of that though, right? So yeah, I thought it was cool, but probably not practical for a lot of the fur critters, especially the smaller ones. I mean, the tracker's probably half the size of a frickin' chihuahua. I don't see one of them dragging a tracker around willingly either. So just some neat examples. And like I said, a link to a YouTube channel of a developer who's specializing on, really cool experiments using that tracker. Next up, Sony. Very surprised, in fact, specifically stating that Resident Evil 7 virtual reality success was something they had not anticipated. Now, they've sold just over 3 million copies of the game, and we've looked at the stats before, so we don't need to get into them again, but it was 3.5 million, and they figure that the number of VR users of the game, those who played the game in virtual reality, could be upwards of 400-something thousand, close to 500,000, which is all the more impressive if you think there are just over 1 million units out there in the VR ecosphere. That's almost an attachment rate of about 50%. That is crazy good. Like that's right up there with what you need or want to see as a developer if you're looking to support an item. So very cool. Really happy about Resident Evil 7 success. And if it shows anything, it's you have the right gamer experience. People are going to come. And if you keep pumping out schlock, and we talked about that, 800 pieces or thereabouts of VR schlock out there, we're not helping the technology with that. Whereas Resident Evil 7, a perfect example where, look, people are going to support it. Now, just on the subject of Sony PlayStation, not going to get into crazy detail on this. It's from VRFocus, another VR news site that I frequent quite often. They have a link regarding 5 Sony PlayStation games exclusive to Japan that they say you should consider importing if you're looking for original virtual reality content. And there were a couple pretty interesting games here that I would definitely try, and a couple of scratch your heads. The one fan servicey one, we're not even going to get into that. You can check it all out on the link below. But yeah, Lemmings, which was an awesome real-time puzzle game that I loved on my Commodore Amiga back in the day. They've got a version of that one game with teddy bears, pink teddy bears instead, and you got to lead them through virtual levels. Yeah, so just some neat stuff there. Go check it out. And then the next and last story. This has to do with virtual reality's Creator Lab. So YouTube is going to mentor and fund 40,000 US, or up to 40,000 US. And there's some catches, and we'll get into those, to virtual reality / 360 degree content creators on YouTube. Now, there's a couple of catches. First, you've got to have over 10,000 subscribers, so that would rule me out. You can have 1,000, I think, if you are like a plan member or something like that. And you also aren't actually getting any money. You are able to utilize their resources, whether it's physical resources, human resources, and for a period of 1 year, anything you put up using that expertise / hardware, you cannot monetize. In other words, it's going to go to them. So a way for them to recoup it. If it's good, they make more money off it. Not sure what I think about that. I understand the 10,000 subs, absolutely, right? There's so many. If you look at the statistics, once you hit 10,000, that's kind of that magic number where, you know, you're the upper X number of percent, whereas the vast majority, in other words, the body of the iceberg, is under 10,000 subscribers. So there's also some limitations. You've probably got to live close by to be able to use their facilities, or expensive flights out, etc. So if you're interested, you have such a channel, check it out via the link below. Hopefully I hear from my buddy Exity, guys. I was expecting a ring-a-ding-ding while I'm filming. It did not happen. Hope you guys have an awesome Game and Friday and a fantastic weekend. Cheers, guys.